chipping. Next is pitching. So pitching is what would you say pitching is? How is pitching different than chipping? What we just did.
Um, Pitching, I usually just cut it off at 30 yards and above. 30 to 70 yards, I'll consider that as pitching. Pitching is a little bit more. I don't want to say less creative, but it's kind of that in between short game and long game. Long game, you've obviously got your full swing. It's all one. There's no difference in your swing. You're not really trying to change your swing that much. But then with pitching, obviously, you got varying distances. But at this end of the day, it's still a pretty similar motion, regardless of what distance you got, what kind of shot you got, and what situation you have. So, um, yeah, probably just a little bit less variety than your around the green type of shots.
Got it. So can you hit a couple? So you said for you pitch shots tends to be more kind of 30 to 70.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so you can kind of hit to the longer pins in the back. Can you
Okay.
quickly go over what you try to do in your setup, ball position, and then maybe something that you're trying to do in the swing to hit this farther and hit it a little bit higher?
Yeah, I mean, as it gets, let's say, I mean, I don't know how long do you think that far one is? 50 yards?
Yeah, I would say probably 45, 50.
Yeah, so then like that, like let's say I'm going to that pin, I'm almost setting up square. So I mean, with a short game shot, you're probably setting up a little bit open with your weight on your front foot. I mean, weight's probably still a little bit on my front foot, but it's a little bit more balanced now. It's almost 50-50, maybe 60-40 on my front foot. Um, I'm setting up square. The ball is generally quite middle in my stance, kind of like a full swing, maybe a middle to slightly back in my stance. And then, I mean, I just see this as kind of like an abbreviated full swing. So instead of, taking it back this far, I'll take it back, for a 50-yard shot. I'm probably going to take it back somewhere around here, right? And then again, like just being it's very intentional with, rotating and not letting my arm get too far and forward or too far back, kind of like a full swing, just one piece, everything moving towards the target.
Can you hit a couple shots for us to that last pin?
Yeah.
Probably like 45, 50 yards. You change clubs when you hit shots? Oh, nice one.
Ooh, almost went
Pretty
in.
good.
um so here's the thing with pitching. I almost always use a 60 degree with my pitching. And I would say that's probably because mostly because of the courses that I'm playing. They're usually the greens are a little bit firmer, so I need that height, I need that spin, that backspin. Um, and I think, yeah, like generally once you get to a pretty high level, like you're probably pitching with a 60 degree or a sand wedge. I Once it gets to this kind of distance, I stop reaching or thinking about other clubs in my bag, and I work more on my 60 degree for pitching.
That's just because the courses you're playing are a lot firmer, a lot faster greens,
Right.
not
Mm-hmm.
the typical junior golf courses that these people
Right. Mm-hmm.
play. Gotcha.
Yeah. But I mean, again, you can make like a pitching wedge work from this spot. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like it's using a pitching wedge is illegal from this spot, but it's just given that I know all the courses that I'm playing are going to be quite firm. Like for me, at least, practicing with the pitching wedge is a less productive use of my time than just practicing with my 60 degree.
Gotcha. Let's see. What about distance control? So how do you go? Because you mentioned you go from 30 to 70. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you go from 45 to 30 or 50 or 60?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in high school, I mean, on summers I'd come here, and then I remember I used to beat up that area in the shade all the time. One, because I didn't want to stand in the sun, and two, because it was great because it's almost and the flags almost start to be turn into a line, right? Then I'm standing there, I'm like, okay, well this first one's around 25, 30 yards. next one's going to be around 40, and then 50, and then 60. So then it's like I've already created myself sort of a ladder, 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards, without without needing to move too far away. So I can just stand here and I can work on my 30-yard shots. And then once I feel like I've got a good grasp, okay, let's switch it up, and I'm going to jump to my 70-yard shot. And then randomizing which shot I want to hit at any given time. So I'll hit maybe 3 shots at 30, and I'll be like, okay, well, instead of jumping to a 40-yard shot, let's mix it up and go to a 60-yard shot. And so doing that, it really forces your mind and your body to understand. Again, this is all about practice. Understand how hard you need to hit, how far back that backswing is required for a shot like 30 yards or a 50-yard shot or a 70-yard shot. So I would say I was pretty creative, like, with figuring out that something like that can be turned into a ladder drill for myself, and I could just spend hours there practicing and working on my distance control.
Can you hit one a little bit shorter to one of these flags on the second?
Yeah.
Probably a little closer to 30 yards or so.
Yeah.
Maybe move it outside of 30. Main practice you did was you would stand here and kind of get an idea about how far the flags are.
Yeah, so I'll go there, and then I'll take out my rangefinder. I'm sure all of you have a rangefinder, and then I'll just make a mental note. Okay, that first one's how far, and then so on. So, yeah, and then there I could just work on my short game, not stand in the sun, and yeah, and then I got really good at my distance control just by doing that.
Does your pitch shots have a pretty good amount of spin, or does it land and roll out a little bit? I guess that depends on the course you're playing. But
Yeah, it depends on the course. I generally like to have it roll out a little bit more, just because I don't like landing it that far and close to the pin. I don't like relying too much on that check, that first or second bounce checking up. Um, just for me, like, it's hard to gauge given how firm some of the greens are. Like, it's hard to predict whether or not that will happen. So anticipating that it's going to roll out, taking a little bit of backspin off, like, I found it a little bit more consistent for myself. But for some people, like, I have teammates who swear by landing it close to the pin and having it, having the backspin, check the ball up and and stop really quickly on that first or second bounce. So it's, again, I feel like it's up to preference. But for me, I like to have it roll out.
you like to have it land and roll out a
Yeah.
little bit more predictable.
Yeah.
Instead of landing it close and hope it spins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of depending on the person and how they hit their shots
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what other questions? So, so one of the, I think the hardest things about this type of shot is obviously not chunking it,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you're in the rough, you got that cushy lie, it's easier. But from a little tighter lies, you have any good tips on kids here on how to hit the ball first and not chunk it?
Yeah. So then, I mentioned earlier that 60% of my weight is on the front foot. That's, again, just to try and prevent the chunk mistake. If I have that weight back, it's just easier to chunk it. Like, sometimes the bounce doesn't always come into play and help and save you from a chunk. So then just having that weight a little bit forward, it'll bring your low point forward, and then you're less likely to chunk it. And then another thing is, a lot of, I mean, if you just watch a lot of amateurs on these kind of shots, they'll go like that. Their head will dip. So then being very aware of keeping your head, like, steady and up throughout the downswing has also been a really good way for me to avoid that chunk miss.
Your keys are weight slightly on the left, keep the head nice and steady.
Yeah.
Don't do any kind of dipping.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. In terms of like feeling in your hands, do you feel when you're hitting these shots, it's coming more from your wrists, your arms, your hands, kind of more from your body? What do you feel like you're doing to generate a nice solid swing on these little pitch shots?
I try to use my big muscles, so less with my wrists, my hands, my forearms, and I try to just use my upper body and my shoulders, my big muscles, to generate the power. And for me, I've found that it's very consistent, um, using the big muscles. Um, I mean, you can kind of get the same idea from putting, right? Like you're going to be more consistent turning with your upper body than turning with your wrist like this. So I take that same idea from putting to, when I'm practicing pitching. I try to keep my wrists as passive as possible and turn with my upper body and my big muscles.
The last question for pitching now. So we got set up, how not to chunk it, big muscles. What if we need to spin one?
Yeah, I mean, to spin one,
If you wanna, you need to spin it because you got a tight landing space.
mm-hmm.
What do you try to do to maybe create some spin because you have to? You don't have that room to land and let it release out a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, with that one, like it I'll focus on really hitting down on it. Like the more you hit down on it, the more spin you'll generally produce from one of these shots. So it's a little bit scary, like having to commit to hitting down on it. But I mean, I know that just got to believe and trust the physics behind it. Like that'll be what generates the most amount of spin. I mean, this is with the range ball, so it might not spin as much, but I can try.
Come on, Brian.
So
I believe you can do it. Back pin.
yeah, I'll try the back
So
pin
how do
again.
you hit more down besides just kind of thinking about any other things you try to do to hit more down than normal?
I just keep it simple. I move the ball back a little bit, maybe a half a ball back, a
Half
ball
ball
back,
Got
just
it.
so that it's back, and then I'll need to hit down on it naturally.
Pivot. Not bad for a range ball there.
Yeah.
One kid in here who can spin it pretty good. Spin master.
Should we see it?
Oh, you want to hit one? No?
But yeah, I mean, like I executed the shot properly. Again, like it's a range ball, it's not gonna spin as much. But like you saw how big of a divot I made. Like I'm not afraid to make a divot even on a pretty relatively short shot that's only 50
I don't know
yards.
if you guys noticed this or not, but you see the way the divot is pointing? Where's it pointing? Buddy?
Probably hard for them to see.
No? No one speaks? More left. So when he's hitting down, you can see that the divot of his golf club is going a lot more kind of left of the target, right? So that's because he's using his body a lot more to hit down, not using his wrist. And you don't see that divot going way off to the right because of how much he's hitting down with his body. So you see that divot going more left, but that ball actually went straight. Okay. All right. Any questions for Brian there? No.
Tough crowd.
No. You guys got everything? You good? Okay. So we're gonna split off, hit a few pitch shots real quick. Same thing. If you want to work with Brian just for a few shots, we'll get you set up. Okay. All right. Hang in there. Don't fall asleep.